Thank you to Davis Baldwin and Lynette Ambassador for becoming channel members. I'm back to the video where we highlighted a key line that all but disproves the N+A=J book theory. My friend Tinfoil Mummy pointed out that Jon looks a lot like Ned Stark. Tinfoil Mummy also mentioned that Mira looks like Jon, so in the show, they could be twins, and Dany looks like a mix of Rhaegar and Lyanna from their wedding flashback. The thing is, we can't go by show casting. In the show, Beric says this to Jon.
You don't look much like him.
Who's that?
Your father.
But in the books, it's important that Jon looks like his quote-unquote father, Lord Eddard Stark. It's important, but not because it implies that Ned is his biological father, quite the opposite. George R.R. Martin is never so direct. It's important that Jon looks like Ned because it's a misdirect. Ned is not his biological father. It'll make sense with the diagram, but first, let's review the traits of the Tullys versus the Starks. The Tullys of Riverrun, like Catelyn Tully, they have fair skin, red-brown hair, and blue eyes. Whereas the Starks of Winterfell, like Ned Stark, Lord Eddard, they have long faces, brown hair, and gray eyes. Now let's review the Stark children. Robb Stark was big and broad and growing every day with his mother's coloring, the fair skin, red-brown hair, and blue eyes of the Tullys of Riverrun. Here's more proof. Lady Cat had always thought that Robb looked like her. Like Bran and Rickon and Sansa, he had the Tully coloring, the auburn hair, the blue eyes. There are plenty of other quotes that we could use for these four little wolves, but that one's perfect because it groups those four children together. Robb, Sansa, Bran, and Rickon. They took after their mother. They looked like the Tullys of Riverrun. Now let's look at Jon and Arya. Arya took after their Lord Father. Her hair was a lusterless brown, and her face was long and solemn. And she had her father's eyes, the gray eyes of the Starks. Jon had the standard Stark traits as well. Long face, brown hair, and gray eyes as hard as ice. Accordingly, Sansa confirmed that Arya looked like Jon. Since Arya looks like Jon and Arya looks like Ned, this implies that Jon looks like Ned. And we actually get direct confirmation of that. Jon looked more like Ned than any of the trueborn sons that Catelyn had bore him. Last but not least, we know that Arya not only acted like Lyanna, but she looked like her. Since Arya looks like Ned and also looks like Lyanna, this implies that Ned and Lyanna looked alike. So what's the missing piece here, or what does this indirectly tell us? This indirectly tells us that Jon Snow looks like Lyanna, R+L=J. So you might be wondering, if R+L=J, then how come Jon does not look like Rhaegar at all? Because the Valyrian traits are not dominant. I'll give you two examples. The Baratheons have Valyrian blood, but they look nothing like Valyrians. Baratheons have blue eyes and black hair. But here's the best one. During the Dance of the Dragons, Princess Rhaenyra was most likely having an affair with her champion, Sir Harwin Strong. How do we know? Well, all signs point to her Valyrian husband, Sir Laenor Velaryon. He was gay. And Sir Harwin Strong was at her bedside when she gave birth to Luke. Most likely, Sir Harwin Strong was the father of her first 3 children. There's a lot of drama around this in the novella The Rogue Prince, which is a prequel to the Dance of the Dragons novella. Now, since Sir Harwin Strong fathered her first 3 children, they looked nothing like Valyrians. They were big boys, brown eyes, brown hair, and pug noses, features that some at court would call common. Later on, Princess Rhaenyra had 3 more children with her uncle, or my boy, Prince Daemon, the Prince of the City, Lord Fleabottom, the Rogue Prince. He was a Targaryen, and lo and behold, the children looked Valyrian, or at least the first one did, King Aegon III. He had dark purple eyes and pale silvery hair. We don't have details on the next 2 though, but it's pretty clear. Valyrian traits are not dominant, and George R.R. Martin, he's not direct. So George R.R. Martin said that Arya and Jon look like Ned, and Arya also looks like Lyanna. The hidden message is pretty obvious when you look at it this way. Jon looks like Lyanna. R+L=J.
You don't look much like him.
Who's that?
Your father. I suppose you favor your mother.
You knew him?
Of course I did.